100 years. 100 years of telling the stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. Join me, Cannon Gates, and Diego Lerma as we celebrate the East Carolinians' 100-year milestone.
In this podcast, we take a century-long voyage through the East Carolinians' profound history, starting with a conversation with Chloe Easton, Trajan Warren, and Jenna Bishop in our very first episode.
We talk about their time at Tech during the pandemic and the challenges they faced.
All right, Chloe, nice to meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to meet you guys as well. I'm Chloe Easton. I was the EIC from April 2020 to 2022 January. I think that was the timeline. It feels like forever ago, so it's kind of hard to remember. So I've been graduated for about 3 years now, just about, I want to say. And now I am a full-time news editor in the Raleigh area.
What was your major when you graduated?
So I was an English major. Let me see if I can remember. And a double minor in creative writing and communications. And then I did a business technical certificate in publishing and editing.
Where are you working now as an editor?
So I work at a newswire. We just did a rebrand. So we were Access Wire. Now we're Access Newswire, kind of like a similar name. So what I do is I edit press releases for a lot of business news, a lot of publicly traded companies. We have a lot of different clients. Some of them are local. Some of them are bigger clients, like Moderna, maybe Buc-ee's is one of our clients. I just edited a press release for them the other day. So that was kind of fun. But yeah.
Gotcha. How would you say your time at Tech helped you post-grad, in your job now?
It definitely helped me get a job pretty quickly after post-grad. I did take a little bit of a break just to kind of relax after I graduated. I was also nannying while I was at Tech, so I just kind of stayed local for a little bit. But once I finally decided to apply for jobs, it didn't take very long to hear back, just given everything that I did do at Tech. It really did help, get a good turnaround.
You brought back pirate rants. What was the decision to bring that back?
Yeah, so that was probably one of my favorite things that I did, because everyone would talk about it, how much they missed it, but it was also very controversial because the reason why it was taken away, there was no filter. So people just said whatever they wanted and it got posted immediately. And that was obviously not working out very well because people would get on there, they would say some pretty inappropriate, just not okay things to say. And I remember thinking there has to be a way to filter this out. There's no way we can't not have this and go through them before we post them. So I was let's just go through them before they go live, because that was the main issue with them. And it worked out pretty well. And anything that came up that was submitted that we couldn't post, we just filtered it out. And I think it's been going pretty well since then. So.
Chloe, so as the editor-in-chief for Tech for a good year and a half, how would you say, because I'm station manager at WZMB, how would you say your guys' collaboration would be, and how was it as a whole, I guess?
So in the beginning, it was a little difficult because I think we were still trying to navigate COVID procedures and stuff, and everyone was focusing on their own divisions for a while, how we're going to get this covered, how we're going to even get back in person to run and operate things. I know a big thing that they always collaborated on was tech experts, and that's something that they managed to keep going even when we came back with all the protocols in place, because they were still able to social distance and wear face masks and then record, over Zoom and stuff like that and put it together. So that was a big thing that they did. Other than that, I remember COVID just being a big block for collaboration.
Yeah.
Generally.
So during COVID, how would production run, or how would y'all communicate with each other?
So I was thinking about this because when it first started, I was news editor, and then my chief was Brendan Gillespie, and we did it over Zoom, and we were trying to figure out how to do pages and edit them with the designer over Zoom. And we were trying to figure out how to navigate Zoom also for the very first time. So we didn't really know how screen sharing worked and how we could maybe see them editing the pages. So I remember sitting there, and we were remote. So we were at home and we weren't with each other. So we were on the phone and texting nonstop. But we would sit there and we would kind of just, this sounds so silly too, we would close our eyes and have to envision what the headline would maybe look like and how much space this headline would take up and maybe how this would look. And we'd be like, okay, can you do this? And like, tell me how this looks. And they'd be like, it kind of looks like this. It doesn't really work. And we'd have to be like, no, don't do that. Because if not, we would just be sitting there like sending pages back and forth. Google Drive was a really big tool during that period. So we would just edit the pages, screenshot them, or like print them as it save them as a PDF, put them in Google Drive, sit there, edit them back and forth. The first time we did it, it took so long, like hours. And then we eventually got a little bit better at it, learned that we can screen share. Then I think once we got back in person, I can't really remember what the timeline was. I was trying to look at it because it feels like so long ago, like I said. We tried to do everything that we could to prevent any outbreaks in the office, which is pretty difficult because you have to share a lot of computers and you're always like up in each other's faces looking at stuff like, hey, can you look at this page and whatnot? But we had hand sanitizers. We disinfected everything. We were constantly spraying disinfectant, wiping things down. We wore masks, we social distance, and we only had one issue with an outbreak, and then we were remote for a while, and then we'd be like, okay, everyone make sure they tested negative. We would come back. So it kind of worked like that for a while.
As your time as editor, did you face any controversy? I know about the drama with Yik Yak and the racist comments from the fraternity.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, we did receive a lot of kickback from the. Can you remind me what fraternity it was? I can't remember exactly.
Theta Chi.
Theta Chi, yeah. So, oh goodness. Yeah, I can't remember. It was, what it was they were hosting like a party or something, and then they put like this certain group is not allowed because of like your skin type. And apparently someone had said that it was another person that hacked that post and put that on there to try to make the fraternity look bad, which that could totally be a possibility. And the main goal of reporting on that is just to report like, hey, this happened. The university is looking into it. This is what the fraternity is saying in response. This is what we're doing about it. Not to make any accusations towards the fraternity, of course. And a lot of members didn't really see it that way. And as you know, there's an inbox that only the EIC has access to, and that was receiving a lot of emails from a lot of members and a lot of parents, a lot of moms that were not very happy with what we're reporting on. I remember I received a lot of DMs, like direct messages on my social media from like moms, and a specific mom in particular of one of the members asking me just to like take stuff down. Really, that's all they wanted. They just wanted us to take it down, which I understand. But like I said, it was just a report on, hey, this is happening. We have to make students aware of what they're doing to address this. So there was quite a bit of kickback on that.
During your time here, you collaborated with a lot of people. Did any of those, do you still keep up with anybody from tech?
Yeah, I still keep in touch with people, like, of course, the people that I worked with, like Lydia Ryan, sports editor for a while. She was a copy editor. She did so many things. We keep in touch, of course. She does court reporting now, so I know she's really busy with that. George Martin was my managing editor. He was in news for a while. He was a copy editor. We keep in touch. We're actually partners now, so that ended up working out like that. But yeah, just in general, it's difficult because we're all really busy. And I think once we graduated, it was something that we needed to take time away from. But there are still a few people that I definitely keep in touch with. So
when you think about tech, what is the one memory that sticks out?
But there's a lot of memories that stick out. There's a lot of things that happened during my time there. I remember when we were covering the Black Lives Matters protests, and it was during the summer. So during the summer, we have a smaller staff. It's a little difficult to cover things. And I think it was my copy editor, my managing editor at the time. I can't remember if it was the section editor because it was NARTS combined for the summer. They went and covered a protest that was happening, and it started off peaceful. And then towards the end, it became not peaceful, unfortunately. And I can't remember if it was because there was a particular individual came that decided not to. At the end, they wanted to get things going, even though the whole protest was pretty much, the whole thing was peaceful. And I think there was like smoke bombs and like SWAT came out, but I still had like reporters and a photographer on scene, and we had to go because we were at the office trying to like put things together, because I think it was actually on like a Tuesday or something. I think it was during production, and we had to go and pick them up on scene, because I was like, I'm not sure if you should be there with all that going on, but we still want the content, we still want the photos, but I want you to be safe. So that was a big deal. I remember covering the GOP convention with Donald Trump, and then a lot of other political figures like Michael Cawthorn, people like in the political Republican Party coming during that convention, covering that. It was like a 2-day event. That was a big deal. Mark Robinson was there. And I remember that was really good for tech, because one of our big things is to go in unbiased and, report unbiased events, like what's actually happening there. And we were one of the only media groups that were not in a political like wing reporting, right wing media. And because of that, it got a lot of views, it got picked up a lot, because people were like, wait a minute, why is this article a bit different than all these other articles? No one reported on this being said. And so that was really good for tech as a whole, because it showed that, we really just want to report, learn as student journalists, be unbiased, tell the truth. So that was a really big takeaway, I think, for sure, while I was there.
Outside of COVID, obviously, because I just know how big that was, what would you say your biggest obstacle while your editor-in-chief was? Just because I know, COVID obviously is definitely number one, but outside of that.
Mm-hmm. One thing that was really hard during COVID, and then also, I think I was EIC, because this was during COVID, because during this time, inauguration on January 6th, during the Capitol riots, and there was a lot of like hate towards the press. I remember a lot of student journalists, it freaked them out a little bit during that. And they were kind of like, I don't know if I really want to be in this field anymore. Like, I don't know if that's something that I really want to go through, because a lot of them wanted to go into political reporting. They wanted to go and report, be on Capitol Hill and do that. And they were like, I don't know about that anymore, which is understandable. That was a very scary time. And then during COVID, since things weren't really the same, because reporting is about being there in person, experiencing face-to-face conversations, and that totally changed with COVID. So it was really hard to find motivation during that time. And it was really important for me to try to motivate my staff, and it's like remind them, this is why we're doing this. Like, I know things are a little different. So I think that was a really big obstacle. Things were so different, and trying to find like that drive still, which, like I said, that's so understandable. It was so different, but for sure that was a big one.
All right, Chloe, anything you'd want to tell the audience who might be listening about tech?
I think one thing to remember is that not only are we journalists, we're students as well. And that's a big factor to keep in mind, because we're not only trying to do this to get experience, but we're passionate about this. So that's just something I want to put out there as anybody that's reading or maybe sees like something that we've done. Just keep in mind, this is a lot of effort was put into this, and, a lot of passion, a lot of drive. So definitely give support if you can. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Chloe.
We just spoke with Chloe. Now into a conversation with Trajan and Jenna.
Trajan and Jenna, thank you for joining us. Just a quick introduction about who you are. Jenna, if you don't mind going first.
Yeah, so my name is Jenna Bishop. When I was at the East Carolinian, I was Jenna Price. I served in several roles during my time there, but I finished as editor-in-chief.
Hi, I'm Trajan Warren. I was at the East Carolinian from my sophomore year up until I graduated. I also held a bunch of various roles, but the last semester I was the managing editor.
Okay, so during your time at Tech, how did your time there help you get in your post-grad jobs?
So when I graduated from Tech, it was kind of in the middle of the pandemic. And so I ended up accepting an account management role at an education publishing house. So the company focused on publishing professional development material for educators. And they liked that I had a background in editing and things like that, because it made me more able to work with the authors and help promote their work and things like that.
So yeah, like I also graduated in the middle of the apocalypse, and that was really fun to try to find a job. But what had happened was I had met someone through a conference that, I'm sure you guys have probably been to, the one at the University of Georgia. I had connected with one editor from the American City Business Journals. And just during that time, just on LinkedIn, sending out all the resumes, sending the emails. Beth Hunt, who was an editor at ACBJ at the time, I went to her LinkedIn page and LinkedIn snitched on me and said, Trajan Warren has viewed your profile. And so she sent me a DM and said, hey, just checking in with young journalists who have recently graduated. Would you be interested in talking about an internship potential opportunity? And that turned into an internship with the Triad Business Journal, which is based in Greensboro, which is, around the area that I was, post graduation. I'm from the Burlington area, and so I was about 30 minutes away. And so that internship worked out, which turned into a full-time role with the Triad Business Journal. And yeah, so just really just making connections, just, anybody that you meet in your path, just reach out to them. And, there's always an opportunity at the other side of an email or a text or a phone call.
Yeah. Jenna and Trajan, for both of y'all. So I'm the station manager at WZMB. I just want to know, what was your guys both like collaboration, I guess, with WZMB? Like, what was your you guys' main thing? I know COVID was really hard for y'all to do as much stuff as you might have wanted to, but what was your all's collaboration, I guess?
So when I was EIC at Tech, a very incredible woman named Elena was the station manager at WZMB. And her and myself, and at the time, Blessing Agimian, she was at the magazines. We all kind of coordinated. When I started as EIC, Tech, WZMB, and the magazine division were all separate entities. And so we actually collaborated to bring them under the same Pirate Media umbrella. So you used to go to the EastCarolinian.com to view the East Carolinian, and now I think you go to Pirate Media One or something like that. And so that was something that we all worked on together because we really wanted to unify the brand of Pirate Media. We thought it was important that each brand has its own identity, but we do all collaborate for the same purpose, which is to serve the students of ECU. And then with the radio specifically, Elena and I, at the time, our sports section had a column that we did called Techsperts, and I think you guys still do it. And we would write it, and then obviously ZMB had their sports guys who did their sports podcast. So we actually combined those to have a Techsperts podcast. And we did that. I don't know if you guys still do it or not, but we did that for the whole of football season. So that was me.
Yeah. We do text first. So we actually just got done recording about 30 minutes ago.
So yeah, that was me and Elena.
She did a great job explaining. I really didn't have too much collaboration with WZMB when I was there, but it was a lot of great work that she just touched on, that Elena and Blessing and Jenna did, to really kind of bring it under that Pirate Media One kind of umbrella. Because a lot of times, I don't know how it is now, but I think you guys are all in the new student center, right? Mendenhall, okay. Because before, we had an office downtown, sort of across the street from the courthouse, and so it was just kind of a bit disjointed. And so now, with the work that Blessing and Jenna and Elena did, bring it all together. It was great to see.
We're all right across from the hall from each other, which does make things a lot easier when it comes to planning. Whatever we want to do, experts like Jenna.
So more on that, when you guys did have the transition from downtown, where did you guys go, and how was that transition like?
So we were in 301 Evans Street. I drive by that office. So my husband actually works for ECU, so we're back in the area now. And we drive by that office all the time, and it's so nostalgic for me. Trajan and I spent more hours than either of us would probably like to admit in that office. And then so we moved from the Evans Street office to Mendenhall, but not in the basement. We were on the ground floor. So when you walked in through the main entrance, we were straight back by the stairs. It was a pretty rough transition, I'll be honest. We didn't know it was happening until about right before it happened. So we had been put in charge of sort of presenting to a few members of the board of trustees and a few members of I think it was student life. Oh, I can't remember now. I'm getting old. But we had been put in charge of kind of putting together a presentation of like, where's our dream spot? Like, where would we love to be in? Like, obviously, we requested the new student center because it hadn't opened at this time. And then they kind of placed us in Minden Hall, and we were really sad to let go of our Evans Street office. I remember our last night in there, Trajan. I don't know if you remember this. But we were like signing the door frames, and this was like a rented building. Like, we didn't own this office. But we were like signing the door frames and crying, and it was a whole thing. It was a really sad night. And then the Mendenhall office ended up being great because we were closer to WZMB, and so it started opening those lanes for more collaboration, and we got to be a little bit more centralized. I'm not sure how it is now, but it used to be that the EIC had their own like kind of private office in the Evans Street. So like I had a door that I could close to get away from everybody so I could actually, like do my job, which is not something that you get to do if everybody's in the office at one time. And so that was great. And in the new place, I did not have a door at all. And I remember I really missed having my office. I don't know. What about you, Trajan?
No, it was, like I liked it. It was. I could see some points of people wanted to be closer to campus just out of convenience, just out of running. Like it was easier. It made more sense to have the campus news organization be on campus. But to the flip side of that, it was nice to kind of have like a downtown office. That was pretty cool. But yeah, no, it was bittersweet. I do remember like all the editors, all of us like writing silly little messages on the wall and like signing the door frame and just packing up our desk. And actually, funny enough, Daniel Roberts, who was the copy editor, um, our last semester at Tech, he and I like one day just like went downtown like and walked past the old office, and you could like see them like painting over the walls, like all the old furniture in there that's just kind of like broken down. So it was like, oh man, you remember when we were in there? But being on campus, it was nice. It was more convenient. There was just more, if you had to go talk to someone in student affairs, they were, a floor away, which made things a bit easier. So yeah, it was definitely a transition, but I think we got on with it. And a few months later, something a lot crazier happened that I think people didn't care too much about us changing offices.
All right, Jenna, during your time as
Yeah.
the EIC, did you face any controversies or any problems during your time?
Yes. Um, yeah, so I was EIC during a kind of tumultuous time for the university. So towards the end of my junior year, I was news editor. And that was the semester that Cecil Staton lost his job and Jeff Comfer lost his job. And the president of the board of governors lost her job. So all of those three things kind of happened like one after the other. And the football coach got fired. Scotty Montgomery, I think was his name. Yeah, all those things happened kind of one right after the other. Because I remember Trajan was my news chief, so and we were run ragged trying to cover all of these things. Not to mention all that construction that's going on like the Fifth Street area with the culvert and everything. That had not started yet. That was actually being decided while we were in there. So we were covering that, plus all the upheaval within the university. So yeah, it was kind of a crazy time. Just like, I guess, politically within the university, trying to make sure that, I know it might seem like people don't care who is in charge of the university, but students are actually really invested in that sort of stuff. And it was always really important to Trajan and I that we made sure that, that happened. And then also the interim chancellor had a whole scandal involving downtown bar video. It was a whole thing. You can go back and look in the archives. Yeah, go back and look in the archives. But it was a really tumultuous time. And so I remember there were many nights where Trajan and I wouldn't leave the office till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because we would be like working on the paper, and then like news would break, and we'd have to like scrap the whole front page and start over, or move something, or get stuff ready to go online, even though it couldn't go in the paper. And it was a really tumultuous time from that perspective. And then we were also having some issues with some of the bars downtown being accused of being unfriendly towards people, and it was just a lot. There was honestly a lot going on. So yeah, it was kind of crazy.
And Trajan, do you remember any of that drama going on during your time here too?
Yes, I do, and it was fun. I missed it. I miss it a lot. Um, yeah, no, like the thing that really the I guess the biggest event or whatever that I think I look back on as like, yeah, that was the craziest or the more significant one was like Gerlach and his whole reign. He was so well loved by the student body, and then just the video comes out and just him drunk driving, and the cam of him like leaving some bar and like can't put his shoes on, just like all of that whole time period with the drama that was going on with the board of governors, and it was just a lot. So yeah, that was a crazy time, but a fun time as a reporter because you get to go out and
Oh yeah.
see a lot of this news happening. And then from that's a local perspective, but even nationally, like Trump had a rally there, and the rally of him saying about Congresswoman Omar, like send her back, like that happened at the event at the basketball arena. So like to be a part of big news like that it was just a great time, just so much happening. And to be honest, like so much happening that like I kind of forgot about some of that stuff. Like I forgot about the football coach. I forgot about the athletic director and his contract and all that stuff that was happening. So we were not at any shortage of news during those couple of years.
You know what we also both forgot, Trajan, was GFR. All of that stuff
Oh yeah,
too.
Prinsky, and yeah, the Where There's Smoke, There's Fire, a great series about just the holding the fire department accountable. So like yeah, just a lot of really great work in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were you guys' biggest takeaway from your time at Tech, either professionally or personally?
Oof, biggest takeaway. Probably. I mean, it's something that you still learn. Like I'm still learning as a journalist, but always thinking about the next question. There was a moment with Cherie where I forget what it was, but we had a bad paper. It was a terrible paper. It was just a bunch of like previews and just awful stories. And I'm sure you guys still do like the editor review before a production night. And Cherie did not hold
Oh
back any
yeah.
punches. She said, "This is terrible. You like just really let us have it." And I think everybody needed to have it. And that's one of those moments that even to this day I kind of carry with me. Like, is what I'm doing important? Whoever picks up this paper, are they gaining anything from reading this right now? And I think that's just the biggest takeaway of make sure that what you're saying needs to be said, and you're not just taking things at face value, that you're really digging deep and asking the questions that you need to ask.
I would say so. I don't do journalism at all anymore. I was in business for about 4 years, and now I'm in law school. Um, but I would say that the biggest like life lesson that I took away was that my integrity and the integrity of the organization that I am a part of is going to take me a lot further than being first or um, getting the best, fill in the blank. It was always super important to me and Trajan and really everybody on our leadership team when we were at Tech that we led with integrity first. Because at the end of the day, your news organization, you might publish first, but if you lack integrity, who cares? If people can't trust what you say, if people can't trust what you do, then does it really matter if you're first? And so yeah, I think the integrity piece, and that's bled over into my work in corporate life and also, now pursuing law school. When I approach different situations or I'm reading different cases, I always want to look at this from the aspect of how do I maintain my integrity and the integrity of the issue. So yeah, I would say that part is definitely something that I still take away with me.
Okay, so last question. What advice would you want to give either student journalists or journalists here at Tech?
I think I would say, like, just enjoy it. There's no, it's so cheesy too. There's no environment quite like a student media environment. Now that my husband, so he works in the School of Music, with mostly freshmen and recruiting and things like that. But I always have him do a plug for the newspaper and student media in general. And he teaches like an orientation, because it is truly one of the best experiences. Maybe I would even say the best experience of my undergraduate career. I would not trade it for anything. I learned the most. I was challenged the most. And I feel like I developed as both a professional and a person the most in that environment. Sometimes the licks are hard. Like sometimes you get knocked down, like whether it's a bad paper or a difficult, person you're trying to interview, but there's always something that can be taken from that experience and applied. And so I would tell them to be open to the experience and just enjoy it. And appreciate that you get to see some of your best friends 2-3 times a week for free, really easily, no coordination involved, because that is not the case when you graduate. So.
Definitely. And I guess the big piece of advice that I would say is to be curious. Every great mentor I've had throughout, at Tech, whether it be Cherie, whether it be Jenna, who I, came up under, whether it be Prinsky, anybody at Tech, all my great mentors, even till today, the editors that I have, be curious. Always think of the next question. Don't just take things at face value. You can learn AP style, you can learn how to write, you can learn how to structure a story. All those things can be learned. But you have to be genuinely curious to just find out what you need to find out. And I think that would be my advice to student journalists. Just make sure that you're asking questions. There's always another question that could be asked.
I hit the nail on the head on the hammer right there, but do you guys have any closing points, I guess?
I mean, go Pirates. I guess other than that, yeah, I don't know. Trajan, can you think of anything?
I don't know if I have any closing points. I guess I don't know. I'm interested to hear from you guys. Just your perspectives with Tech. How long have you guys been with the paper, and just what have you taken away from it? I'm assuming you're both seniors.
Yes, I'm a senior. I think
I'm a junior. Yeah.
Okay.
I graduated in the spring. I think I've been part of Tech since I did the summer program in 2023. And then I was a reporter the following fall. And I just got a job as IEC.
Yeah, and then for me, obviously, like I said, I'm a station manager for WZMB. But the thing is, with like what Jenny, you mentioned with collaboration and stuff, like I've been in the paper plenty of times for football predictions and that type of thing. So I'm also on Tech Spurts along with that. But I'm a junior, though. Been with WZMB. I did freshman fall. I was in the training program, and so I've been on staff since freshman spring and got the job as station manager starting last summer. What's been great, I mean, obviously me and Diego have started doing this together and collaborating even more with Tech in general. And I mean, I think this podcast is a great thing for us, for Tech and WZMB to collaborate even more, along with former EICs and Naya and Jalen. So, yeah.
I gotcha.
The East Carolinian proudly celebrates 100 years, marking a century of covering the stories of ECU, Greenville, and the surrounding areas. As part of this milestone, we invite you to join us throughout 2025 on a journey through our history. Our dedicated anniversary webpage offers a curated collection of nostalgic highlights, vintage articles, archive photos, and trivia.
In addition to these weekly updates, the pages serve as a gateway to exclusive 100th year anniversary merchandise, including a commemorative planner and t-shirt designed to honor these landmark occasions. Visit theeastcarolinian.com/100. Again, theeastcarolinian.com/100.